And finally, proceedings are underway in China to give its president ultimate staying power. According to reports, the latest policy change would allow President Xi Jinping to rule indefinitely, to rule forever. Pretty fascinating stuff. For more on this, I'm joined by Geoffrey Miller. He's from the Democracy Project at Victoria University. Good evening, Geoffrey.
Good evening, Lloyd.
This is, it started out being extended by another term, and then it got extended by another couple of terms, and now it's been extended indefinitely. What does this, tell us about what's going on in China? Is there no succession plan?
Yeah, I guess none of this is terribly surprising. I think we've seen this coming for quite a few years now, that Xi Jinping really has been cementing his power there in China, and he really wants to see himself beside two other great leaders in Chinese history, and that is Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping. And of course, Deng Xiaoping modernized China. He was the one who reformed and brought in market reforms back in the 1980s after Mao. And Mao, of course, was that original communist leader who, led all those great purges, who did unify China. He did it in a very brutal way with millions of deaths, but there's no question unified China. And Xi wants to be seen alongside those two others in Chinese history. So there's a big conference going on at the moment on an historical resolution that we actually haven't seen. We haven't seen a text of it, but that's going to really set the stage for Xi to, just further his dominance over Chinese life, really. And then there will be a vote at the end of next year on a third term for him. And yeah, it does seem that he will probably rule indefinitely for life, much in the way Vladimir Putin, for example, has become leader for life in Russia.
But hasn't Xi Jinping already solidified his place, as the great modernizer of China? Hasn't he already done that?
Well, China, China, of course, is renowned for long-term thinking, and Xi is thinking really in terms of the long game. He's been in the job since 2013, which is a long time by Western standards. That's 8 years, but by Chinese standards, that's not terribly long at all. Chairman Mao ruled for 25 years. So, he's really thinking in the long term, and this is all part of that plan. So, there's a lot of tensions at the moment between the West and China over Hong Kong, over Taiwan in particular, recently over the situation in Xinjiang. And we can just expect these tensions, these niggles to grow. And Taiwan does seem to be really becoming the central theatre in a lot of this tension. And the Pentagon released a report last week on Chinese military strength. Some of that was on Taiwan. You're also seeing Chinese military exercises frequently near Taiwan. So the tensions just seem to keep growing year by year at the moment. There's no question about that.
And so how will the Chinese Communist Party go about extending President Xi's reign indefinitely? Do they, because they're at a conference today and tomorrow, how do they go about it, and how long are the current terms for presidents there?
Yeah, so the current terms are 5 years, and there was a amendment back in 2018 which abolished term limits. And this, of course, is the irony. Xi wants to be compared alongside Deng Xiaoping, who was the great reformer. And in fact, Deng Xiaoping introduced a lot of reforms to try and stop a future personality cult in the vein of Mao Zedong. So, he wanted no Chinese leader to serve more than 10 years. And Xi's really torn that up. And so, next year, I said at the end of next year, there will be a vote, but it really is just going to be a formality. Xi is in the job for as long as he wants the job. And, from everything we've seen, he wants to be there for life. So, that's what we're dealing with. In some ways, I think it simplifies the equation in terms of what New Zealand does. We might not like what Xi is doing, but it does give a degree of predictability, perhaps, to what China is up to. And we know kind of where the line is. We've seen Australia get punished when they've spoken out and criticised China. Australia had its wine exports pretty much cut to China last year after Scott Morrison spoke out about COVID-19. So Xi lays down the line and he reads the rules, and if you don't like the rules, well, there's the door, and that's pretty much the way how it goes.
Okay, wonderful. Hey, thank you very much for your time this evening. That's Geoffrey Miller, who's from the Democracy Project at Victoria University. It does fascinate me. I mean, yes, he's got a legacy already. He's done some great stuff and he just wants to keep doing this. When I say great stuff, I mean, I'm talking infrastructure here. He's rolled out some pretty amazing high-speed rail lines. He's built some incredible bridges, some of the world's longest and tallest bridges. Some beautiful tunnels as well. He's just transformed China, but he's also done a whole lot of horrific things as well. When you think about what's happened with the Uyghurs, what's happening with Tibet, and I'm sure there's a whole lot of stuff we don't even know about that Xi Jinping has presided over. And you can kind of understand it too, why he just wants to stay on there and be a dictator for life, because that's essentially what he is.